What would happen if you gave an amoeba the power of a human? The same mental capacity, the drive to create and destroy, but stuck in the body and physical limits of the same amoeba. An amoeba that, at its core, only exists to consume. Just how much would it consume to gain enough strength to carry out those human whims? Imagine power as that of a god, an infinite fountain of energy, and replace now the story of the amoeba with that of a human. How many wars would be wrought? How much death and destruction for that power? With that, you have the story of Akira. Akira takes place in the year 2019, 31 years after the destruction of Tokyo in 1988, which kicked off the Third World War. We follow our protagonist, Shotaro Kaneda, and his best friend Tetsuo Shima through the grimy streets of the rebuilt Neo-Tokyo, an overripe, rotting fruit where violence is normalized. All the shining lights and colorful advertisements can't hide the festering wound of the city, with police brutality against demonstrators and wealth disparities between the working class and the rich only growing steeper and steeper. Tetsuo ends up as the antagonist through a series of events involving psychic children known as espers. Children who have abilities such as telekinesis, future sight, and super strength, with the most powerful of them all revealed to be a young boy named Akira, who caused the explosion which precipitated the Third World War and leveled Tokyo in the 80s. Through his rage and jealousy against Kaneda being his savior for his entire childhood, Tetsuo causes a wave of destruction in his search for more power, which pulls not only Kaneda into the resistance to stop him, but causes the destruction of almost the entirety of Neo-Tokyo by the end of the film. In his efforts to stop feeling so helpless, Tetsuo destroys not only the city, but himself and his girlfriend Kaori in the process, which is only halted once the Esper children reawaken Akira's remains from their cryogenic slumber to absorb Tetsuo into a singularity. That singularity is what destroys Neo-Tokyo, but saves humanity from utter annihilation at the hands of an angry, jealous teenage boy who had been given the powers of a god, and the Espers disappear with him. While the film does follow the 7-point plot structure, none of the points truly fall entirely neatly into pinch points, but rather the hook, midpoint, and resolution are most solidly grounded in their roles. Between the destruction of Tokyo, Tetsuo's awakening, and the destruction of Neo-Tokyo, the plot folds together into a neat, near-perfect, terrifying mirror. The movie, which is based on the 1982 best-selling manga of the same name, was written by Katsuhiro Otomo and utilized an unprecedented level of technical skill in its creation for the film. Influenced by the economic upswing of Japan in the 1980s, Otomo was able to secure a budget of $10 million to aid in the creation of Akira's film debut, allowing for much more experimental animation than even some of the most avant-garde anime of the time. It was, at the time, the most expensive animated film ever produced in the country to date, and was created by a collaboration between 6 studios, which labeled themselves as the Akira Committee. The animation itself utilized celluloid traditional techniques, as well as extremely in-depth cinematography, with Otomo storyboarding the entire film himself before they even began to animate, 2,122 shots in total. Additionally, Akira was shot on 70mm film, 3.5 times larger than what was standard at the time. Otomo refused to cut corners to do any of Akira faster or cheaper, which was in direct defiance of the way most animation, even to this day, works in the corporate realm. Just as well, Akira was filmed at the entire 24 frames per second level, whereas TV animation and cartoons are typically shot at 12 or even as low as 8 frames per second to cut costs. Akira also utilized a little bit of CGI, which was new to animation in the 1980s, and was primarily used in the display of Akira and Tetsuo's psychic brainwaves. Akira was also the first Japanese animated film to utilize pre-scoring, where actors record their lines before animation begins so that the animators can base their movements off of actors' performances. Another innovation was the use of the quick action recorder, which was used to adjust the timing of scenes before they went off to color so that things like lip syncing could be matched perfectly to the sound at a full frame rate. The cinematography and lighting go hand in hand, using typical film shots like point of view, backlighting, and even slow motion to mimic the views of real camera work and make the world of Neo-Tokyo come alive. The film itself used 327 different colors just to make sure that all scenes were cohesive and looked like they truly took place in the dark of a neon cityscape. Stylistically, although realistic, all the characters are stylized in the way of Japanese anime at the time. However, all the characters have correct proportions for their height and lifelike movement throughout the film. Finally, one of the most interesting choices Otomo had for the production of this film was his choice in music. Rather than utilizing a modern genre, Otomo opted for traditional Balinese gamelan music. The score was written by Geno Yamashirogumi, which is a music collective directed by Shoji Yamashiro. While the score is only 10 songs long, each one is crafted according to the rhythmic rules of gamelan to create a striking, visceral sound which carries you through the most cinematic scenes of the film. Akira, through and through, is a masterpiece of animation and will continue to be for years to come, showcasing that the sky is the limit when corners are not cut in the name of money to create art, and a story which forewarns the destruction of man should he fly too close to the sun in the name of power.